Hi, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you the real basics about layers in Photoshop. I know it can sometimes be a bit of a mystery, so I'm just going to go through the absolute basics on how these work. So I've just opened an A4 document, and as you can see over here on the right, it's just a background layer which is currently locked. You can see that by this padlock over here. We can unlock that, but I'll show you why we can unlock it and why we should unlock it sometimes. And this eyeball over here just allows us to switch the layer off, which I'll show you in a bit. We can't at the moment because the layer is locked. So first of all, we need to put something on this layer to show you how things work. So I'm going to go over to my brush tool here and just click. Down here refers to the color of your brush. Now I'm going to click this tiny black and white icon here, which is just going to mean that the top color here is the color that I will paint with. So I'm just going to go over to my canvas and simply paint black on my canvas. And as you can see over on the right here, you can just see what I've done is revealed on this layer icon here. Now to add a layer on top of this, I need to go down to this icon here that says plus. And when I click on that, you'll see another layer appears on top, but it's actually transparent. And you can tell it's transparent because it's got these grey and white checkerboard markings. So this is as if I have put a transparent piece of paper on top of my background. So now if I just change the colour of my brush, so I'm going to click on this black icon here, and you can see I've now got a colour panel. So I'm just going to click on the red at the top here with my cursor and click OK. And now you can see that my brush is now red. So I'm now going to brush the other way, and you can see that I've painted on top of this transparent piece of paper. You can still see the layer below. But if I go to my move tool, which is up here at the top, and I've currently selected layer 1, so I've selected this layer and I can move it anywhere in my design. So you can see it's as though it has been painted on top of a transparent piece of paper. Now, if I wanted this layer to move below this layer, normally I could grab it, click on it and drag it below that layer, but I can't because the layer is locked. So if I click on this icon, it will disappear and the layer is no longer locked and it's layer 0. Then if I go to the eyeballs here, you can just see if I click, you can see I've now switched off that red layer, and to click again, I've switched it back on. Likewise, if I do the same with the bottom, I can switch the bottom one off and switch it back on. So if I wanted to move this layer here below the black and white layer, click and drag. I've moved it below that layer. You can't see it because this has got a white background. But if I select this black and white layer and I'm on my move tool, I can then move this out the way and you can see how this layer works. It's still there underneath, but it's blocked by this white background. So if I just move that back down again so that we can see both of them. And now on top of this layer, so I'm going to select this layer here, I'm going to insert a picture. Now if I was simply to go to File and Open, it would actually open my picture in a different tab. So what I need to do is to go to my Finder menu at the top here, and then simply go to Go. I'm going to select something from my desktop. So what I've actually got is my files in this box here. I want to select this picture at the bottom here. So all I'm going to do is click and drag it into my document. And that's the easiest way to place and insert an image into your file that you're already working with. So as you can see, this image is now in my document. It's now on top of the red layer and the black and white layer. But at the moment it's got these markings around it. And that's because currently, if I was to move my cursor to the top here, to the top corners, I can actually resize this image before I accept the insertion of it. So once I'm happy with it, I can just go to this check mark at the top here and click. And once again, with my move tool, you can see I'm still on my move tool and I've still selected this layer. I can now move this anywhere in my design. So you can now see how the layers are on top of each other. Now, once again, if I move this layer, click on it and drag it between the red and black and white layer, you can see the effect that that now has. That red squiggle is now on top, as you can see here. Now, many people get confused when we start to use layer masks, and sometimes it can take a little bit of getting your head around. So I'll try and make it as simple as possible. So I've now revealed all 3 layers. However, let's say, for example, we wanted to put a layer mask. Now, a layer mask is like putting a black piece of paper or a transparent piece of paper on top of your layer. Now, to put a layer mask on top, go down to this icon here and click. Now, at the moment, you can see that it's white and it's on the red layer. So that means it's as if you're putting a transparent piece of paper on top of this red layer. And you might think, well, why would I want to do that? Well, if we now go back to our brush tool and we go back down to the colours here, for layer masks, you only need the colours black and white. If we go to black, we now have a black paintbrush and we have selected the layer mask. We're not on the layer itself. As you can see, I can select the layer. We're not on the layer, we're on the layer mask. If I paint black on the layer mask, you can see it starts to hide what's on that layer. Because black on a layer mask is like placing a black piece of paper on top of your layer. So as you can see, I'm now painting on top of that layer mask and hiding elements of this layer. If I hit my Alt key and click on my layer mask, you can see what my layer mask looks like. So the black part is hiding what's on the layer. Now, let's just fill that with white again. So if we just want to go back and fill this layer with white again and start again, just go to Edit, Fill, and then Contents, Fill with White, and click OK. And as you can see, we're now back to a fully white mask. If I wanted to change this to black, I can either hold down my Command or Control key and press I, and that will change that to black. Or again, I can go to Edit, Fill, and then instead of white, click on the drop down and select black. So now we have a completely black layer mask, and that's as if I put a black piece of paper over the top of that red layer there and hidden it. Now, in the same way, if I go back to my brush tool and I actually change it to white, and I can change that by clicking on this double-headed arrow and switching the black to the white, I can now go back to my layer mask and I can paint and begin to reveal what's underneath that black piece of paper. So by painting white, I'm revealing what's underneath. It's almost like I'm making a hole in the black piece of paper to reveal what's underneath. Now, underneath is these 2 layers, as you can see, but what's under this directly is this red marking here. In much the same way, let's just delete this layer mask, right click, delete my layer mask. If I go to the picture, again, add a layer mask, and then I can press Command or Control I. Once again, you can see I've hidden that image. But if again I paint with a white paintbrush, you can see now I can bring that back because I've effectively made a hole in that black piece of paper. And that will show whatever is underneath this black piece of paper, which is the image, it will show through. You can add layer masks to every layer if you want to. So if I click here, I've added a layer mask to the top here. I can change the colour of my brush tool to black, and again I can paint on the red to hide sections of the red, and I can do that with the bottom as well, and again I can put a layer mask on. Now when you're on the bottom layer here, if I was to paint black here, let's just change If I was to paint black onto this layer mask, what you would actually do, because it's the background layer, I'm actually going to take off this white layer and reveal just a transparent background. So it means that if you were to print this out, there wouldn't be any ink on this area. It's completely blank, it doesn't hold any information, and it's completely transparent. Once again, with these layer masks, you can move these layers around and they will reveal and hide things as you move them around. You can add as many layers as you like, just pressing this plus button at the bottom. And if you want to get rid of a layer, simply click on it, and you can either go down to the bin icon at the bottom and click yes, or just simply click and drag into the bin and it will disappear. So that's just a really quick and simple basic understanding of layers. I hope that's helped you. It is sometimes a bit tricky to get your head around the layer masks, but I hope that's helped you to try to get to grips with it. If it has, please like and subscribe and have a great day.